Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Playing World of Tanks. I'm AJ, and today we'll be looking at a game that I had in my 113, which is the Chinese Tier 10 heavy tank. Now the 113 is a very good tank. Its primary disadvantage is that it has very poor gun depression, but if you learn how to live with the gun depression, it is an excellent tank. This will require you to sort of like learn how to play this tank in a lot of maps, because minus for gun depression is something that you don't come across on a lot of tanks. But the minus for gun depression I think only exists within the SU-101 tank destroyer line or the Object 263 tank destroyer line, and perhaps in the Chinese medium line itself. Other than that, it's very hard to come across, so you are not really actually prepared to deal with that type of gun depression in the 113. The VZ111 gets -5, which is still better. So first off, I see like from the deployment of our team, I kind of like figured that I'd be needed more in the field rather than in the city, and that is sort of like confirmed once I cross the railroad tracks and am spotted. Just because I think if I was spotted, that means somebody is aggressively trying to see who's crossing into the side. At first I think maybe I should go across here and drive forward, but then I think to myself that if I was to do that, the 113 has a really long front and I could get tracked, which would mean that I would probably lose that engagement. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna instead drive normally into the position I want to. Now I fire on the clutch and I managed to pin one of the tanks firing back at me. Again, I know that my reload is pretty good, and there's no need for me to sort of like repair my tracks, just because anything that shows his face again probably gets blasted off again. I pinned the Type 61, I track him in place, and now I've gotten into a good position in which I can cover my lower plate, which is the primary weak point on the 113. All they can do is perhaps track me in place, and now we are free to do whatever we want. I see the Lorraine moving up rather aggressively. I put a shot into him, and at this point you kind of like see that the enemies are not, at first they thought they could push me, but then sort of like as soon as they start taking damage, they kind of like realize that they can't do that anymore. I fire clutch on the Type 61 again, reducing him to 1 shot of damage. Over here I was about to take him out, but then again I think his repair skills are pretty good, and he was able to repair just in the nick of time. Now over here the Lorraine side armor is pretty poor, so I overmatched it with my gun, so I didn't actually have to aim anywhere, so I just had to hit his side armor and it would have pinned at the correct angle. So now I know that the Type 61 is reduced to 1 shot of damage, and I don't know whether he's that keen on poking out anymore, which is confirmed even more when I see him sort of like retreating, but then he sort of like pokes one more time and gets paid, sort of pay. I make him pay for like sticking around there. I managed to pen the IS-8 between the pillars, and over here I was gonna go aggressive on the tank, but I see there's a tank destroyer in the background, so now I'm not so sure. I managed to track the IS-8 who has to use his repair kit at this time. I see that the E50 has moved up. I know I can pin him if I aim at the right spot, and I kind of like figured that I can track him in place as well. Now over here, like this is what I was actually afraid of when I came all the way around here. Some tanks are really long, and you have to be somewhat more apprehensive of crossing into places where generally you wouldn't be able to. Now over here I try to snapshot the IS-8, but unfortunately he moves back just in time, and at this point we are kind of stuck here, because the problem is like even though the IS-8 is in the open, I know there's a waffle behind him somewhere, and that would make for a very hard push into their side. So instead of just sitting around and And this sort of like confirms it. Like over here, when I was spotted, I sort of like confirmed that the waffle is still steering in this direction. So what I'm trying to do is trying to figure out which way should we approach this. Should we go along this side or the other side? But then at this exact point, I kind of like realized that the city has actually crumbled, and there's a Jagdpanzer E100 and an E100 that are on the loose. Now I stick around on that building just long enough for them to sort of like think that I'm still going to be there. Instead, you know, what I do is I'm gonna go all the way around and counter the E100 and the Jagdpanzer E100. And the primary reason for that is I'm a tier 10, there are 2 tier 10s that are pushing. More often than not, that would mean they would have an easy picking of whatever sort of like came their way. And you know, I did not know how competent the team was over on this side anyway, so why take a chance? You know, artillery is still useful, and so I've put the E100 in his track, you know, pushing him in his place. Artillery fires and, you know, takes off half my health, and you know, it's arguable whether I should have repaired it or not. I don't really care at this point. You know, it's hindsight. But you know, once they do hit me, I sort of like repair everything, just to be sure that, you know, just to have the tank back to 100%, because, you know, I'll need the mobility, I'll need the track traverse now. So at first, what I'm trying to figure out is what is our two tank and 2 tanks, the T-54 and the 1390, wanting to do. So they're wanting to push along the 1-2 line and sort of like go into their cap. So I obliged them. I'm gonna start following them into their cap. Now the problem at this point is that we know the IS-8 is pretty low on health, but we do not know where the waffle is. And over here I get lucked out, in which I was trying to cross the middle and through this straight, but instead it's blocked off by 2 tanks, so it takes me slightly longer to get where I need to go. And the other thing is, I can't just blindly rush into their side without knowing where the waffle is. The waffle has 5 shots. Between me and the T-54, he can kill the T-54 and put me in such a low state in which the RD can eliminate me, or the RD can damage me to the point where I can be ineffective, or the IS-8 can put 1 more shot into me and reduce me to pretty low health as well. So I'm not wanting to take any of those chances. I want to know where the waffle is. I want my artillery to work him over, and then I will do something about it. As soon as I get spotted over here, my fear was that the waffle had actually moved over here. Now I'm trying to bait shots from him, hoping that he would actually fire, but he doesn't. So what I do is I try to poke over this side. Since the T-54 crossed without being shot, I kind of figure it's safe for me to do so as well. Now I tell the 1390 is doing the right thing. The 1390 wants to go around back to where we initially engaged, and the reason for that is because the 1390's camo is better. At a range, you are much more likely to bounce shots from the waffle than not. Our T-54 doesn't see what's going on, rushes headfirst into the waffle and gets taken out, and now at least we know where the waffle is and where the IS-8 is. Now at this point I was hoping that the RD would actually do something. The RD actually just fires randomly. He said and just misses completely. So now it comes down to like a 30-second, his 40 or 50-second reload, and we have to make something. We have to make use of this small window in which we know where the waffle is before he relocates, because if he relocates, then we'll have to find him all over again. By that time he might be reloaded and he might take one of us out. And so at this point, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get here as quickly as I can, so I can make sure that the waffle actually stays lit, or you know, I can kill him. As soon as I see the waffle, I drive to this corner, I side scrape, you know, and seeing how big the turret is, I managed to put 1 shot into him. Now the 1390 takes this opportunity to take out the waffle. I see the IS-8 moved out to take out the 1390. I reload just in time to take him out. Now I know the RD is on my left hand side in that corner somewhere, and I'm the last tank remaining. So I know that as soon as I'm unlit, I'm gonna make a rush down this line and hopefully spot something, and hopefully get to put these buildings in between us so the RD doesn't get an easy shot at me. So I come across this over here, I fire on one of the tanks on the move, takes them out, and artillery takes out the other one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of Playing World of Tanks.